thing lately where like you'll be talking or Jim will be talking and it'll take like 2 to 5 seconds and like smash it together.
Do what?
It'll take like 2 to 5 seconds.
What's it?
This.
Okay.
Roadcaster. And it'll like smash your words together. And then it'll like throw everything out of sync and I'll have to like realign it. But
while you're doing the podcast?
Yeah, but I can't tell when I'm recording it. It's not until I go back into the recording and I look at it and it's like, because I'll align it, you know, so it matches up with the audio and the video. And then all of a sudden you'll be out of sync. And I'll be like, what's going on? And I'll have to go back and for some reason it'll like, it's not a huge deal, but I got to figure out what's wrong with it. Yeah. This thing is like 10 years old. Yeah. So I mean,
what's it cost to replace?
I have another one, but even that one's like a little iffy too. Jim, you there?
Yeah, 10-year-old things can be a handful. Especially when you just get them back from camp, like last night.
Yeah. Well, we just got him back from camp, and of course he spent just got back from camp, and of course he spent all this time with other children, and had a great time at camp, it seems. But you know, he's come back with some sort of fever. This morning, I went in and you know, I felt him, and you know, he was not up and around doing his usual 10-year-old thing, and he had a fever. So so he's back from camp and had a good time in camp, and he's 10 and he's going to be kind of laying low. Hopefully I don't pick it up. Knock wood. You know, I never really seem to get sick. I might like my mind like that goes, and that'll put me down for a few days.
Oh, he was kind of a live wire when he showed up in our conversation briefly last night. So,
do you remember exactly what it was we were talking about? We were talking about No Way Out, and we were talking about
a car chase in the movie, and he said that would be hard to do. Yeah. Would. Yeah,
that doesn't make much sense to me. That was kind of like more the vibe that whatever he said.
That doesn't make any sense. No, it doesn't. That's what was. And he didn't even see the movie. And he said, that doesn't make any sense. No, it doesn't.
Well, that's what Jim and I were just talking about.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Since we brought that up, I mean, we had a couple of days when Dasher wasn't around, and Jennifer and I were looking. Hey, let's watch a movie or whatever, and just we're looking, and all of a sudden I see No Way Out, and I was like, oh wow, you know what? I've never seen that movie. It's got Gene Hackman in it, Kevin Costner, and it was a pretty big hit, you know, as I recalled. And so I put it on, and just was like thoroughly disappointed in it, and just like I was really surprised that helped catapult Kevin Costner, because and Gene Hackman looked like he didn't want to be there. He didn't like when I'm in a Western, it's bad. Like every day that we're shooting, my hat gets a little lower, covering my face, you know. And that's Gene Hackman seemed to have a paper, you know, going
for
on.
Any prop in a room that he can hide behind, a lamp, flower ball.
Right. Yeah.
Even his hands, he'd put his hand up.
He'd just done the French Connection, and you know what's the movie he did with Al Pacino that was kind of good? That the two of them were kind of wandering around.
Scarecrow.
Who directed Scarecrow?
I think Jerry Schatzberg. I can't be positive about that, but it's an interesting movie. But anyway, he looks like I know the feeling of not wanting to be there, and he really looked to me like he didn't want to be there in that movie, and I was just surprised that I just thought it was clunky, and maybe it just hasn't aged well.
when I went back and looked at the box office, it did okay, but it wasn't like a monster hit, which is kind of what I thought it was at the time. I thought it had done very well, and I thought it was that, but I guess it was that in Bull Durham, your buddy's movie.
He made it around the same time in '87 that he made Bull Durham and The Untouchables. So he had, like 3 movies in the theaters, bang, 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 and they all, generated decent box office. They certainly generated good word of mouth. Bull Durham, especially.
Bull Durham, yeah.
Yeah, kind of made him a star. But he did Bull Durham and No Way Out for Orion, and Untouchables for Paramount. But he made all 3 of those in the same year, and he had been kind of percolating around Hollywood. He'd done a couple of small movies before that, and he was in that movie The Big Chill with that great ensemble cast, except he got cut out of it.
Yes.
The only part of him that remains is his corpse when they're dressing it for funeral at the beginning of the movie.
And the director made it up to him by putting him in Silverado, right?
Yeah, Lawrence Kasdan then cast him in Silverado, and so he had made Silverado before No Way Out, but he was again, he wasn't the star of Silverado. He was one of the cast.
But Kevin Kline in Silverado? I think Kevin Kline.
Kevin Kline. And,
was not a very successful movie, was it?
No, it seemed really clunky and phony, and I don't know what the hell. I think Kasdan was more in love with the genre of a Western than actually making a good one, I mean, it. I don't remember a thing about it except a few of the cast members. But did you see it?
I don't think I ever saw it. That's why I never saw No Way Out. There were like certain actors that were becoming movie stars because of certain movies. And they were the people that were my age, like Kevin Costner, and I would be like, I don't fucking want to watch that fucking movie. Fuck him, like how come he's turned into a movie star? I'm not going to watch the movie. I'm not going to support the movie, or either that, or I knew it would make me feel bad. Same with Alec Baldwin. I told Alec Baldwin for the first time I met Alec, I was like, I haven't like to tell you I've seen all your movies, but there was quite a few I didn't watch.
My choice, yeah.
Yeah, I was too jealous at the time that you were turning into a movie star, and I couldn't figure it out. But No Way Out. Wow, that really was, and it's long too. It's not a not a quickie.
Long. The plot. I mean, I think I responded more favorably to it back then than I did now, because I found it really clunky, like you said, clunky and stupid, really. I don't know, that crazy subplot. This is no spoiler alert, but the crazy subplot that, hey, at the end of the day, he winds up being a Russian spy.
Yeah.
And he's our hero through the whole thing. He's the guy we're rooting for through the whole thing. And it turns out that he's actually a Russian spy. Well, that kind of undercuts the whole point of the movie, doesn't it? We find out in the last scene of the movie that he's a Russian spy. What's the point of what we've just been through?
I haven't seen the movie, but that sure sounds like a spoiler to me.
Well, yeah, I mean,
I'm not giving anything away, believe me.
Yeah,
just the ending.
It should have been. We should have known more about that at the beginning.
Has nothing to do with the movie. I'm not giving anything away. Truly, the ending has nothing to do with what preceded it.
Yeah. Like the bad guy gets his comeuppance, and the good guy is the good guy, and then they just kind of tack this thing on the end that.
And then he's it's an interesting premise in that he's sort of like he's assigned to investigate a murder, in which the more he investigates it, the more he uncovers evidence that points at him, at his own self, even though he didn't commit the crime. So that's an interesting kind of a Hitchcockian dilemma, but it gets undercut at almost every point in the plot. The plot's really hard to follow. There are a couple of bad guys who keep chasing Kevin Costner. We're never really sure why.
Well, they were described as the CIA and like kind of bad bad news from the Contra days? Wasn't that there's some mention of
oh, these guys are bad, yeah.
Yeah.
And they chase him all over the streets of Washington, and then they're in the same office together.
Yeah.
Like 2 minutes later, they're standing next to each other in the same office.
Yeah. After they chasing him around with a gun in the previous, 15
jumps
minutes.
off a bridge onto a tree and, all kinds of.
Yeah. There's my 10-year-old. Dad, that doesn't make any sense. I was just talking to Jim on the phone. Dash will walk by and listen for about 10 seconds and just listen to me describing something. And Dash will say, that doesn't make any sense.
He jumped off a bridge onto a tree. That doesn't make any sense. No,
yes.
It doesn't.
No, that's just what Jim and I were talking about. Hey, Jim, did you have a chance to look at that article that I sent you?
My God, that thing is long.
Okay.
Holy criminy!
That's what she said.
I did finish it. Yeah, I did read all of it, and it's kind of funny. It kind of argues on the one hand, on the other hand. On the one hand, it can be a blessing. On the other hand, it can be a detriment. And so there's a lot of that sort of discussion in the article, I thought. But I think it had some interesting aspects. It talked about a couple of filmmakers, Jim Cameron being one, who seemed to be kind of embracing AI. And I know Cameron, did you read the part of the article where Cameron is quoted?
Well, I didn't read the part of the article where he is quoted. It was this morning, so I was, dealing with my son who's sick, and I started reading it, and I saw Jim Cameron's name at the not the beginning, but like 4 or 5 paragraphs in, where they mentioned that Jim was messing around with it. It's okay, dude. It's all right that this goes off. I don't care. It's all right.
No, it's not.
Yeah, all right. My phone's going off with my phone. My ringtone on my phone is. Have we talked about that?
David Bowie in Extras.
Yeah. We talked about this.
Yes, your phone goes off enough times that this conversation's come up a couple times.
So anyway, I saw this article today, and I thought I wonder what this is, and I got a few paragraphs into it, and I was dealing with Dashiell. Plus, I started kind of not understanding what I was reading, so that's when I turned stuff over to Jim and say, "Hey, can you dummy this down, for me? Can you read this and then tell me what they're talking about?" Was there any? When Jim was quoted, is that later on in the article? Because I just read that he was sort of messing around. And it doesn't surprise me if anybody was going to be using AI to help make films the way that they want to make them. I can't think of anybody that would be any more interested in that than Jim. I mean, he's probably been using AI, since about 1990. We don't. There's so much that it can do now. It seems. I had an idea.
He's quoted here as saying, if we want to continue to see the movies I've always loved, big effects heavy, CG heavy films, we've got to figure out how to cut costs of that in half. He told the podcast recently, that's my sort of vision for AI. That's Cameron talking. So he's talking about using it to help, reduce production costs for the kinds of, spectacular movies that he likes to make.
Right. Right.
And so, you certainly see a lot of that. It's interesting. The article talks about how it puts studios in the position of being attracted to AI because of the fact that it can help reduce production costs. By the same token, AI relies on material that they own. I mean, a studio like Warner Brothers has hundreds, if not thousands, of properties that it owns that AI is trained on. So they're sort of using AI. They're kind of cannibalizing themselves.
Yeah.
And they're worried about that, So it really is something. It's a tool that we haven't quite figured out how to use yet.
Right.
Is it going to be a tool, or is it going to, kind of put us all out of existence at some point? Like this article says, at a certain point, AI is just going to kind of generate off of itself. So,
go ahead. Yeah, I had the I had the impression, just by what I had a chance to read, that they were talking about like AI films. Period. Just a film that's completely AI, right? Where that doesn't have any people in it, or doesn't.
We're seeing some emerge already. They talked about a picture that. Yeah.
There was a
Darren Aronofsky.
It's not in movies, but recently a band came out, started blowing up on Spotify and like SoundCloud. Everyone started listening to it, and then after a few months,
I heard about that.
Okay, I got to check this.
Yeah, your phone's blowing up. All right, well, just check it, and we'll come back. We're back now.
Okay,
but we were talking about AI, and I was talking about how a band recently got very famous, or a lot of people started listening to it, and it turns out the whole thing was AI. None of it was real.
The band?
Yeah.
The band itself?
Yeah.
What was the band?
Let me look it up.
Do you know the song?
I didn't hear any of the songs.
There's a song reference. There's a song referenced in the article here called "Dust on the Wind."
Dust on the Wind.
Well, I know that's what it sounds like. Dust in the Wind. I know that song. There's nothing AI about it. That came out.
They changed the it on.
Yeah. But it says here.
It was called The Velvet Sundown.
Change a little bit. The Velvet Sundown, and the band's Spotify hit "Dust on the Wind," and they refer to that in this article I'm reading. Okay. Offering a hint of that new map this summer is the AI provocation, "The Velvet Sundown," and the band's Spotify hit "Dust on the Wind." The song offers a glimpse of a coming world of creativity where the risk reward for human-centric work rarely adds up.
Well, basically, we are now talking about a song that goes out there, that's completely AI generated, and goes on and is a big hit on Spotify, right? I mean, this is like the first time that I've heard of an AI generated song that is, kind of dominating the music, business, and that's it's like every day something happens. Every day there's something like this that happens so that's one song. But a year from now there'll be 30 of them, and the songs I would think would be like, the AI will know, this is what people listen to. These are the catchy kind of things that people have been listening to for the last 100 years, and this is what they like. So they'll, put those things together and throw that back at us, and that's what we're going to like, right? I mean,
and you can fine tune it too. You can say, well, no, a little bit more Steely Dan and a little bit less Doobie Brothers, and throw in some of this and throw in some, and you can keep playing around with it.
I mean, if you're a young musician right now, I mean, here's the thing too, and I've talked to young filmmakers, and I've talked to Alex about being an actor, and everybody says, well, yeah, there'll be that, but there'll always be a place for
the creators.
The creators, and there will be. But it won't be where all the money's going. All the money will be going towards the AI hits, or the companies that make the AI hit music-wise. And I just can't imagine this not happening with film too, because I've always said never underestimate America's sense of like, oh, this is a great movie. I'm going to go see this movie. I mean, look at what we're all watching now. And so you don't think AI can like match, some of these Marvel
I think like
movies?
the one thing that's probably just a counterpoint to that is there is something to be said for like the amount of time and energy and artistic endeavors that are put into films and music and whatnot. So when something comes out that is either all AI or mostly AI, and people go like, "Oh, this is good. This is a catchy tune," and then you realize, "Oh, this is AI." I think a lot of people go like, no, I'm not down with it anymore." Like once you discover, like, "Oh yeah, it's catchy and it's good." Oh, but it's all AI. Then we go like, "Yeah, okay." Well, then I'm not interested anymore.
Well, and you make a good point. But if I'm the company, then I go, well, "Don't tell anybody it's AI."
The internet's gonna figure it out eventually. Like they'll figure it out, I think.
And you think, okay. Well, you've already said that there was a band that everybody thought was a real band, and
then they figured it out, and I don't think anybody's going to go listen to the Velvet Sundown anymore because of it. Okay,
all right. Well, we'll see. I mean, that's what Jim. I had an idea. You've got like chat. Whatever it is, GDP, right? Do you have that? Do you use the AI on your phone at all? Because I don't know how to do it. Jim,
I don't. No, I don't. I don't intentionally use it for anything. I have an iPhone 16 now, so that when I look up something on Safari, usually the first response I get is AI generated. So that might help to steer me toward maybe other sources to look into, or it might just give me the answer I'm looking for right off the bat. So in that respect, I use AI quite often, but that's mainly just for searching topics and for Googling. In terms of the work I do, very rarely, but sometimes if I'm asked to look at a script and give some notes, I'll run it through an AI program and see what the AI coverage looks at. And I don't really use it much. I don't use it as a guide. I certainly never take any passages or words from the AI coverage, but I'll look at it and see what the AI coverage says, and and then just kind of go my own way with it, do my own thing. What AI coverage can be pretty good, summarizing a screenplay, summarizing a book. It can be really good and very thorough. What it's not is very creative. You never see things.
Is it creative at all? Say like Jim, there's no creativity at all, correct?
No, not much that I can see. It really depends on who's prompting it, and what kind of training it, what models it's been trained on, what input it's been trained on. But no, I mean, I don't see any. I never see anything coming from AI coverage of a book or a screenplay, for example, that says, how about if we change him to a her? Or how about if they rob a bank instead of a train? How about if they do this? You never see anything like that might improve the story or kick it forward or something. You never see.
What would be your best? What would be your best guess, knowing as little about AI as you do? And you're obviously not.
No.
How long that will last? Where it doesn't make suggestions for another. I mean, like, you think that'll be that way?
Things advance so rapidly.
Right.
I think it's only a matter of maybe months yet before we start seeing some of that. I don't know how effective it's going to be. Ultimately, it's really going to be up to the artists and to the people who run the companies to decide what AI output they're going to put out there. They're going to use. And I sort of trust someone like a Jim Cameron to be able to figure out how he's going to use AI.
Yes.
And how it's going to work for how it can contribute to his broader vision. But I don't think he's going to, look to AI to come up with whole storylines for the next Avatar movie.
No.
I don't think he'll use it in that respect. I think his hope and expectation is to cut production costs.
But there are people like me that are not as talented.
Kind of sounds like basically more CGI,
But
So I think we're still in an uncertain world about this. One of the other directors that the article quotes is a fellow named Timur Babmenbekov, who I have done a couple of things for, done a little bit of work for, development type work, looking at a couple of books and screenplays of his. And he's a proponent of a kind of filmmaking called screen life. Are you aware of that?
Screen life?
Yeah, screen life.
No.
Where he sort of make movies. He made a movie called Friended, and which I think cost about $1 million and returned about 70 million.
Okay.
And but it most of it all takes place on a computer screen, and it's a real clever kind of filmmaking technique. There are a number of movies that have been made recently that sort of follow that model, and he talked quite a bit about using AI and how he sees quite a bit of use for it in the way he makes movies. So we'll see. I'll be very curious to see how he puts it to use. So,
well,
I know
if it all seems to me that it's all about AI, developing better AI by putting more money into it. By putting more money into it, you're developing better
and also
AI.
by just looking at more work, by absorbing more material. I mean, when you hear about AI models that have consumed 135,000 screenplays, almost every screenplay written, almost every teleplay written, and that's their model, that's their base. My goodness,
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, and you're not even talking about. I mean, at some point, it's probably going to achieve sentience.
Well,
once it does that, then it's just going to continue.
That's a question I'd like to ask Jim, if he feels that it's going to. What's that word?
Sentience.
I got to remember that word. I can't. I'll never be able to say it. Like a sentence.
Sentience.
Sentience. Yeah.
Sentient. Okay. Whatever.
Sentient.
Like I said, I'm never going to be able to say. I'll just say that word. You guys, that word. That word. Well, that. If that ever happens, that's the ball game. I mean, it seems to me. But what do I know? I've got a question for you, Jim. We'll talk about AI for a moment, okay? Because Jennifer uses it, and I've used it even recently to write a quick note to a director, and it kind of helped me fashion my note, and it got my thoughts the way that it's basically, Jim, it's taking your job. When I used to call you up and say, "Hey Jim, I want to write a letter to this director, and I want to say, I want to say this, and I want to say that."
Honoring me at my high school, how do I write a thank you speech to my high school for putting me on their wall of fame? Yeah.
Anyway, this was a note to somebody else. So I got this question for you about AI, Jim. Okay, so you and I have talked. I have talked a lot about it, and I've always been consumed with a movie called Pretty Poison. And Pretty Poison was a movie that was directed by Noel Black. And Noel Black and I had a chance to work together in a television movie, very successful, called Deadly Intentions. And I think I've talked about it before in the podcast. The first time I got that crazy, first time I got to do that fucking crazy thing. And and so one of the things that I've always felt about Pretty Poison was that it was a great story that had great bones. but that it was horribly miscast. And Anthony Perkins was way too old. He was probably in his mid-30s. Where I've always seen that story working better if you're talking about a 14-year-old girl and a
19-year-old guy.
Yeah. That to me is I mean, he had gray hair in that movie. And that movie,
I mean, he almost comes off as almost like a pedophile in a way, you know.
Well,
not showing his interest in that young Tuesday Weld.
Was it Tuesday Weld? Is that who it was? Oh my goodness, what a beautiful girl.
I think
she
it was. Wasn't it? Tuesday Weld.
Yeah. So here's my question, Jim. So I'm talking to my AI chat, GTP or whatever, GTP?
GPT.
I'll never get it right. And I'll say, you know, give me a script like Pretty Poison and make it as close to Pretty Poison as you can without infringing on the rights
without plagiarizing overtly.
Yes. And give that to me. If I asked, I'd probably, and make it 90 pages long. I'd get something back, right?
You probably would. It wouldn't be very good. I haven't seen any
I don't expect it to be very good, but it would be an outline, a format. It would be formatted where I could go in and then like change things and rewrite and do all that.
I imagine you could. Yeah, I imagine you could have it put out something in screenplay format and editable screenplay format that you could go in there and change this line or change this scene heading, or I imagine it could do something like that. If you give it some bones of a story, you know, give it the bones of the actually just say, hey, give me something like Pretty Poison. I imagine you probably could. I'm sure you could. You know,
and then
you had a lot more sophistication about it than we do.
And then once it sends you its idea of a 90-page story that's like Pretty Poison, then you can look at that and read that and say, okay, well, I like this, but I don't like that. Can you change this? Can you give me different options for this? Can you give me different options? And just keep, you know, reworking the script.
Absolutely.
In a way you would
keep telling your AI program to do it. You know, less of this and more of that.
Right.
You know, like that article that we were talking about starts off by the person they're interviewing looking at images and saying more Rothko. And
that's an artist.
That was an artist, Mark Rothko, famous artist. Yeah. More Rothko, less Cézanne, more Rembrandt, more, you know, whatever. Just
right.
Or, you know, more Scorsese and a little less Spielberg, and more Francis Coppola and more Brian De Palma. You can kind of throw these names out there, these references out there, and see what responses you get. You can, you know, fine tune these things, I'm sure, scene by scene, line by line, if you wanted to. So, you know.
Well, that's how I found, like, when I wanted to write a letter to a director. You know, I can't write something that sounds good, and so I asked Jennifer. I said, "Well, you know, I want to write a letter to this director, and I want to say it's just it was a quick note, and I want to say this, and I want to say that, and I want to say this," and it spat something back out, and I'm like, "Okay, well, but I don't want all that in there. Tell them to remove that, okay? And I want this line." Then I used my own imagination or my intellect, not that I have much, but to then say, well, I want this line there, and I reshaped that letter from what it originally spat out to something that I was completely, like, really happy with, and go like, okay, well, that sounds like, you know, somebody who really that's really what I wanted to say. If I had tried to come up with that, it would have taken me like an hour and a half sitting there writing stuff down. You know what I mean, Jim? You know what I mean? You know what I mean? You understand what I'm saying?
You read it to me. You read it to me, and
no.
That's you read it to me, and I thought, my goodness, I didn't write that for you, did I?
Well, you know what?
Are you there?
Yeah, this is
Jim,
yeah.
Jim, can you hear us?
Hello, Jim.
Oh, something's going on with Jim.
Have you guys lost me?
No.
Jim, you can't hear us? I think he probably muted us on his phone.
No, I didn't.
Now we can hear you. What happened?
I think I might have lost Wi-Fi, and I had to go off.
You're not walking around, are you?
No, But my Wi-Fi extender has been a little glitchy lately, and it might have clicked out on me. So, you guys can hear me now, can't you?
Yeah.
I really don't need Wi-Fi to do.
What's the Kalen? What's the name of the new aliens?
Romulus.
Romulus, and the director.
I'll look it up.
Fede Alvarez.
Yes. Yeah.
Federico, I think, is his name, but Fede is what he goes by. Fede.
Yeah, and I ran into Stephen Lang recently, and
cool.
Stephen Lang did a movie with him. It's called Get Out. Is that
Don't
right?
Breathe.
Don't Breathe. I'm sorry. All right. I know it's 2 words. Don't Breathe. And I watched that movie, and I thought, wow, this movie is like really, really, really good. And then I thought, well, this is the guy who did the new Aliens, and I hadn't seen it yet just because, I figured like Jim Cameron's, nobody's ever going to match Jim Cameron's Aliens. So I watched Aliens, the new movie, Amy and Romulus is called.
Yeah.
And I watched that, and I was like, wow, this guy is very, very, very good. And there were some really, really, really good performances in it. And I thought, like, you know what? I'm just going to write this guy a note saying, I love your movies. And it's nice to see that you've gotten the Aliens franchise back on its feet. Congratulate. Whatever it was short. And then I signed it Stay Frosty, Michael Biehn. And I just wanted him to know that I saw his movie, and I'm an old Aliens guy, and I saw his Aliens movie. I was like, that was really good. But I had AI kind of help me make what would have been a paragraph, like 2 sentences or 3 sentences, really what I wanted to say. And I find myself being able to use that, and I'm really fascinated with the idea that you can take a movie like Pretty Poison, give me something that's like Pretty Poison, okay, and then look at it and go, okay, I see what you've given me, now do this to it, okay, and then when that comes back and say, okay, I see what you've done with that, now do this to it, and just keep going over that process, and then you as an artist or as a writer, then can interject, because I've always been really very, very good at like dialogue, rewriting dialogue, bullshit meter, like that doesn't make any sense. How do we what is the author trying to say here? How do we say this in a way that is not so clunky? Maybe use less words. Hey, I don't want I've already got that exposition once. I don't need it again, so let's not do it again. Yeah. We're not making movies. All those factors, it seems to me that and maybe I'll do it as an experiment and just see, it just seems to me that it'll just keep spitting stuff back out, because the way that I've been using it just to write letters to friends and like the director of Aliens was anyway, it's interesting to me. I just don't see any stopping it, man. I just am really on that.
Well,
when you
read that letter to me, I thought, hey, that's pretty good, Michael. I don't remember writing that for you.
Well, that was not. Yeah, that was the only other time one of the only other times I used it is when my high school wanted to put my name on their wall of fame of famous people that have come out of their high school, and 40 years after I fucking graduated, they finally got around to going, hey, what about Michael Biehn, even though my older brother, Steve, who's a lawyer in town's on there, and his best friend, Brian Sweetie did end up making a lot of money, and he's a real classy businessman, and I think there's some buildings at ASU that are named after him. Arizona State University, where he went to university, but worked for Procter & Gamble. But anyway, there's a lot of people on that wall. So when they contacted me, I said, yeah, go ahead. I don't want to, go ahead. Put me on there. But I don't want to be, and of course it came back to like then me saying, well, I don't want to drive to Lake Havasu and sit through a 4-hour graduation ceremony so I could say, hey, thank you very much. And here's my advice to you kids, watch out for fucking AI. You got no chance, man.
You got no chance. No future out there for you.
Yeah.
Go back. Don't leave home.
Learn how to be a plumber. Learn how to be a plumber. Learn how to be a roofer. So anyway, that's.
Well, I sent you that Hollywood Reporter article about film schools teaching AI to students who see no future for them once they graduate. Where are they going to get jobs? Might be nice to learn about AI in filmmaking, but if AI is taking over the
tell
role,
me again, but say what you just said.
Well, I sent you an article from the Hollywood Reporter a week or so ago about AI being taught in film schools. And yet,
what's the teaching in film school?
How to use it in film production.
Oh, in film production, not in writing.
Well, no, not in writing. No, not that that wasn't the focus of the article.
Okay. Oh, in production.
But the point of the article was it's these students in film schools are learning about using AI in the filmmaking process. Except AI is going to render them no jobs. Going to creating a market where there are no jobs once they graduate.
Think about being an editor. I mean, how fast is AI going to find?
Exactly. So. We really have no idea. I don't think how what the future looks like. Really, I'm sure it will develop in unexpected ways. Some ways we're prepared for, and some that we aren't. That's always the case. It seems to be, but Philip Seymour Hoffman says in Charlie Wilson's War, we'll see. We'll see.
Well, speaking of Philip Seymour Hoffman, Kaylin said to me, "Hey, Dad, when you're doing the podcast, why don't you have something that you want to talk about?" Because things really seem to go, all over the place very, very quickly. And I said, "Okay." And we came up with the director. Now I'm like...
You're thinking of...
Talking about Sidney Lumet?
Sidney Lumet.
Yeah. Hoffman's last movie.
Yes. And what's the name of that movie? Hope You're Dead, Before the Devil Knows You're Dead? Or,
Before the Devil Knows You're Dead.
But that's the name of the movie, Before the Devil Knows You're Dead? Yeah. Anyway, so I had done a little bit of a deep, not a deep dive, but I had started looking at his movies. And do you think, Jim, there are any other filmmakers? I'll tell you. I'll tell you what really surprised me also too was when I was doing The Rock. I used to sit around Sean Connery a lot, and for some reason we always seemed to be in makeup together, and I was always sitting to him next doing makeup with him, and one of the conversations I had with him, I remember talking. He liked to talk about golf, but I was asking him about because we were kind of doing physical stuff. It wasn't real physical, but it wasn't Terminator like physical, but it was kind of physical, especially for him. He was older than I was, obviously, and I asked him what the most physical movie that he had ever done. What was the most physical movie that you ever done? And he said, well, I did a movie called The Hill. And I thought, okay. And then since that time, I've watched The Hill, and I really liked the movie, but I didn't know it was Sidney Lumet who directed it. And yeah, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he was an extremely versatile director. You could have him in, directing comedies, directing suspense, direct all kinds of things. He made
Network,
Murder on the Orient Express and Dog Day Afternoon, like within a year of each other.
Actually, three in I was gonna say 3 in a row: Murder on the Orient Express, Dog Day Afternoon, and then Network.
And Network. God, talk about covering the board,
And then Serpico was just before Murder on the Orient Express.
When we did that thing, Jim, where we're gonna get to Ned Beatty. So when we did wrote something once, and then I think we ended up doing on the podcast once, and basically it was about people that had really, really performed one scene in a movie and
stole
the fucking
scene,
movie.
Basically. Yeah.
And when you think about a network, I mean, Ned Beatty. Remember that scene? And
well, there are two performers who have essentially one scene that were very dynamic. The actress Beatrice Straight, who plays William Holden's wife,
she was nominated. We talked about her.
She got an Oscar.
She got the Oscar for one scene.
One scene.
Right.
One scene.
Right. Right.
And then Ned Beatty comes in at the end of the movie for this wonderful, Patty Chayefsky monologue, 15-page monologue that starts off, "You have meddled with the fundamental forces of the universe," and then he has that great monologue convincing Peter Finch to change his ways.
And he was nominated for that too.
I bet he was.
Patty Chayefsky. What have we just been talking about recently that he directed?
Oh God! Well, he wrote that movie Americanization of Emily. With
that's so
Garner. Yeah.
And that movie. I'd heard of it before. I mean, just like barely heard of it. Mm-hmm. And I feel like we've talked about this, but maybe we haven't. But like, I watched that movie, and it is a good ass movie. And James Garner I've never seen James Garner so good before. And Julie Andrews? Is that
Julie Andrews? Yeah.
Julie Andrews is so young, and that is a really good movie. That wasn't directed by Sidney Lumet, was it?
No, directed by Arthur Hiller.
Arthur Hill, okay.
And Arthur Hiller. And when you think about it, that movie was made in like 1964 or 5, just 20 years after World War II. And it's a pretty cynical look at the war. You know, it's a pretty cynical look at the military.
Yes.
And Garner plays a what they used to call in the military a REMP, a rear echelon motherfucker, a guy who loves being in the rear with the gear. His job is to make sure that his admiral gets the best steaks and the prettiest women, and he's taking care of his admiral, and he doesn't want to be anywhere near the front.
Right.
Not for me. So, and he's very open and cynical about it. How he uses his position and his power to make life comfortable while people are getting killed right and left all around him. And it's got some great dialogue in it. I remember, I think I told you once that when I was delivering stuff in the ICM mailroom, I delivered a script to Garner, and I got to ask him. I told him, how much I loved that movie, and his face kind of lit up because I'm sure he was expecting me to say, I really loved Maverick when I was a kid.
Rockford Files.
Rockford Files. Right. I really loved you in that. But when I told him that, one of my favorite movies of his was Americanization of Emily, he kind of smiled because not too many people would say that to him. But he told, I said, well, why did you play such a, self-serving, cynical character? And he said, well, the chance to say that Patty Chayefsky dialogue every day was something you don't pass up.
Right.
So, and he wasn't originally cast for that. It was supposed to be William Holden, and he was cast for one of the other parts. But when Holden dropped out, he was more than happy to step into the lead role. And I think he was terrific in it.
I've never.
Chayefsky wrote a great movie called The Hospital with George C. Scott,
which is a great. Oh, George C. Scott is so wonderful in that movie. George C. Scott is just absolutely priceless in that movie. I've never seen him. That movie has a tendency, Jim, to me, towards the end, it gets, when they're
a little weird,
the father, they're looking for they're taking the father out of the hospital, and
Diana Rigg shows up and she's all funny and.
Yeah, it gets a little odd, but geez, for the first 60 or 70, 80 minutes of that movie, and George C. Scott is just like, are you kidding me? I mean, he's,
oh my God.
I would compare, I would say that performance is twice as good as the performance he did in Patton,
even
as Patton, which he won the Academy Award for. And I was talking to Timmy Colseri about this the other day, and a lot of viewers, listeners, and viewers would not probably know about this, but I did this movie. A television movie with George C. Scott. And George C. Scott was doing this movie for Robert Halmy because Halmy had promised him that if he did this movie called China something or whatever, if he does this movie, then he would do a Patton 2. That's what George C. Scott wanted to do, was a Patton 2. And George, we shot it in Hong Kong. And this was back in the day when Hong Kong, still had the little boats and the little stuff. And it had Ali McGraw. And George C. Scott played my father. And he... played a character whose son had disappeared in what do they call it, the Cultural Revolution? What do they call it?
Yeah, the culture of 1967.
Yes, his son had gone over to China and then sort of disappeared over there, and he plays a father who's looking for his son, a little bit like the other movie he did, where remember the Schrader movie where he's father looking for his daughter in the porn industry. Was it Hubley? Was that?
It was Hardcore. Susan Hubley, who married Kurt Russell.
Yeah. Well, good for Kurt. Seems to do pretty well.
She was a doll. Susan Hubley was an absolute doll.
But anyway, so I'm working with George C. Scott, and for whatever reason, George C. Scott and I seemed to get along pretty well, and he liked me, and he eventually ended up while we were making that saying, well, I'm doing this thing, Patton. The reason I'm doing this is because I want to do Patton, and there's a role of young Patton in this, and I want to know if you would do it. And at that point, I was like, yeah, well, obviously, of course.
Play young Patton?
To his older Patton. Yes, that's exactly what happened. Yeah. And what happened, Jim, was right around. If you look at that movie that he made, the Patton 2 movie they did for Homie, it was right around the time that I was doing the Terminator and Deadly Intentions, and it was right. And they actually called my agents and offered me that role of the young Patton, and I couldn't do it because by that time things had just kind of blown up. Can you see the name of that? China what? What's the name?
China Rose.
China Rose, yeah.
Yeah.
But it was interesting because Timmy and I were talking about acting, and something came up about something he was doing that he needed to cry for, that he needed tears for, and I basically at the end of that television movie that I did with George does find me, but by the time he gets to me, I've forgotten what happened, but I'm either dying or I'm dead in his arms. Okay, I'm lying, and he's got his arms wrapped around me, and he's grieving the fact that I'm dead. And he had a makeup artist, and God, he was a nice guy. Loved his makeup artist. We got along really well too. I can't think of his name, but really, really great guy. But right before they called action, his makeup artist came up to him, and he had sort of like a cylinder in his hand, and he took that cylinder and he put it almost like you would blow through a straw. And he took that cylinder and he blew through the straw, and what he was actually doing was, and George C. Scott's eyes started to tear up, and what he was actually doing was, there is a. What's it called now? I can't think of the name of it, but actors and actresses use it all the time now. I keep wanting to say nitrous.
Glycerin. Isn't it glycerin?
What? Glycerin.
Are you talking about glycerin?
No, not glycerin. Glycerin is put on your face.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Glycerin is put on your face to make you look sweaty. This is I'll think about it. I'll think about what this was.
Is it I'm saying it's called a tear stick, a menthol infused wax.
Menthol.
Yeah.
Menthol.
Yeah.
That's what it was. You're right. All right. And it's the very first time I'd ever seen that before. And, it was interesting that it was, it's George C. Scott and those things are called menthol blowers. And so what they have a tendency to do is, they irritate your eyes to the point where your eyes start watering. And what happens when you're an actor? What do you think happens, Jim, when you're an actor and your eyes become sort of irritated and your eyes start tearing up? What
you can't read your cue cards. Is that what happens?
That too.
Okay.
Yeah, that too. But what happens is, as a person, you're not. The only time that happens to you is when you're feeling.
It tends to concentrate all your focus on that.
Well, it makes you feel sad because it's like the only time it ever happens to you is when you are sad, or I guess maybe really, really happy or something, but it usually happens when you're really sad and you're crying. And so when that does happen to your eyes, and they do blow the menthol into your eyes, it makes you as a person and or as an actor feel sad. Just I don't know what they call it, but it's just like, it's like somebody steps on your toe and makes you say ouch. Same sort of deal. But anyway, that's we were talking about the hospital and his performance in the hospital. Of course, he's playing a pretty heavy drinker, and
middle-aged doctor who's frustrated. His life is kind of falling apart all around him, and he's going through a definite midlife crisis in that movie.
Well, here's the thing about George, and that I've said George used to bring a bottle of vodka every day to the set. And I've said to you before, Jim, I don't know what it was, but it had a handle on it, I mean,
you were telling me this once, and you said, my bottles don't have handles. I said, that should be the name of your biography, your autobiography. My bottles don't have handles. Like, my posse don't do homework. My bottles don't have handles. But he had, a handle that he could put over this bottle of vodka so he could just hoist it in one hand?
No, I mean, that's just the way it came, I guess. Yeah, I mean, it wasn't like, I think it was like a quart. I think it was like a half gallon or something. I mean, it was by the way, if I never, like I said before, this is me writing my book right now. But if in the past, I never had anything written, but I had the title for my book. And the title for my book was always going to be, I'll Never Do That Again. And this time I really mean it.
So this time for real.
This time,
well, he has that great scene in hospital where he gets drunk with Diana Rigg, and he's got that bottle of vodka sitting right there on the table, swigging away at it. And I don't know, maybe it wasn't a prop.
Speaking of that, I ran into Stephen Lang 2 days ago when I was having lunch with Adam, which, by the way, I had lunch with Adam Wingard a couple of days ago, and there's not really much that I can say about Onslaught. Everything is kind of, if you look at what A24 has got coming out this year, Onslaught is not on that list. If you just pull it up, I'm not talking. Adam didn't tell me anything about it. But if you just pull that up and you Google it, and it'll tell you everything that A24 is releasing. And one of the movies they've got, I think they're like, they seem to be like kind of like all over the place. Now they've got a $100 million movie with The Rock. Jim, do you know the name of that movie?
I don't remember the name of it. It's a kind of a martial arts movie or mixed martial arts movie, isn't it?
It's called The Smashing Machine.
Yeah, The Smashing Machine. Is there a date for when that movie comes out?
I'm seeing October 3rd on Wikipedia.
Okay. Have you heard anything about that, Jim?
No, it was, I think, directed by the folks who did Uncut Gems.
Yeah, Benny Safdie.
And which I thought was a really good movie. I liked it quite a bit. So, I mean, that gives me some hope. Generally, a movie about a mixed martial artist, I'm not going to be real crazy about. But I kind of like to hear something about it. But That's what I know. That's all I know about it.
Both Uncut Gems, like the Safdie brothers made Uncut Gems with Adam Sandler.
Yes.
And then the movie that they made before that is called Good Time with Robert Pattinson. And I just say those directors are very good at just making, like, both those movies just give me so much anxiety.
Yeah,
great movies, hard to watch.
They are. Uncut Gems really is hard to watch. That's for sure.
But yeah, if you haven't seen the movie they made before Uncut Gems with Good Time with Robert Pattinson, who I love, that's fantastic.
Cut Gems,
Uncut Gems,
Uncut Gems. What's that about?
Adam Sandler plays a gambling addict.
Okay, in New York City, where he's no, I've seen it. That's a great movie. That's a great, really good movie. Yeah. Did he get nominated for that? That was an incredible performance.
I don't think he did, and it was
a departure for Sandler. Really an admirable one too.
He was so good in that movie.
He's really good in that movie.
Yeah, and that movie's really good. So okay, so these are the guys that are directing The Rock in
Smashing Machine.
That's what I was saying. Ordinarily, I wouldn't be real curious about The Rock in a mixed martial arts movie, but if it's directed by these guys, yeah.
Well, I think it's just directed by one of them.
Benny, I think the guy is.
And written by.
Yeah. So, but that's one of their upcoming movies, right?
Well, that's a big one. I mean, I've always thought of A24 as a company that is. They used to make these $6, $7, $8 million movies and Academy art house. They used to get a lot of Academy Awards and Academy Award nominations, but art house movies, and they just seem to be like blowing up so big, so fast. They've got like so many movies coming out that I would find it hard to. Sometimes in my life, I'll get involved in something and it blows up like almost so fast. It's hard to control. It's hard to kind of keep what made things great about it when it was a small company. I mean, when you're releasing a half a dozen movies and a year, and now you're doing like 60 a year or 30 a year. But what do I don't know anything about distribution. I don't know anything about A24. I don't know anything about anything other than myself and the fact that we'll see what happens with Onslaught.
If you look at the Wikipedia article on A24 at their release schedule, it's in the Onslaught is in the category of undated. They have a number of pictures that they've completed that they haven't got any release dates for.
What was that word you used though?
Undated. The category is undated.
Undated.
Undated. Yeah, it lists about at least a dozen movies here.
Right.
That they have yet to, that they are responsible for, but have yet to assign release dates to. So
right.
It looks like it's in the queue, as they say.
All right. Well, Jim, why don't we wrap this up, and we'll come back and we'll do another one of these real soon. All right.
Stay tuned. Same time, same place. Yeah.
All right, Jim. Thank you.
Got it.